The Car 5 licensing system served Australian pilots for decades, but now it's closed. If you didn't get your license converted before 1st of September 2025, you can no longer do so. So if you haven't converted, what now? Plus, digital licenses and medicals, I'm going to run you through that as well. Let's chat about that and more coming right up. So strap in and let's get into it.
Good morning, 3614, Alpha Mallow 7 PB with Alpha.
Coordinating, Alan, I'm running a bank power, bank pressure rolling to 30 degrees. That's 30 degrees there.
Send by star 9000, 1013, Kevlar 25.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 186 of the Flight Training Australia podcast. The podcast all about flight training and flying in Australia and beyond. G'day, I'm your host Trent Robinson. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, some of you may have noticed the change of photo quality on my Instagram posts. A few of you have commented, and yes, I have succumbed. After many years of slogging it out with the same old phone, I have upgraded to an iPhone 17 Pro, and I am impressed. As a content creator, yes, I said it. Look, especially trying to take shots from the air, limited zoom, always frustrated me. And, you know, carrying my DSLR around isn't always practical or fair on students and things. My prime priority is to be looking after them. But the 17 is taking some fantastic shots and video. Very, very happy so far, especially at night. All right, really high def. But I have managed to couple that with the audio from the aircraft, and a few of you have seen some short videos there with the ATIS going or a bit of ATC and asked how I've done that. Probably a whole YouTube video by itself, to be honest, but just in short, I did have the old in-flight cam GoPro audio adapter, and that plugged into the GoPro. However, when I tried to use that cable to plug it into my DJI Action 5 camera, the audio didn't work. And after a little bit of research, it turned out that, depending on your knowledge of audio plugs and things, but the 3.5mm plug, which is the long skinny one, you'll sometimes notice there's a couple of different segments to it, and there can be either 3 or 4 segments, which is part of the TRS plug and the way it transmits and receives that information. And the GoPro one was different to all the other units. So I ordered a cable by a manufacturer called Boya, B-O-Y-A, and it was the BY-K4 USB-C cable. And I ordered that originally to go with the Action 5 camera. But then I thought, I might try this with the iPhone. And sure enough, it worked brilliantly. So that cable simply goes into the 3.5mm jack from the in-flight cam cable and then plugs into the USB port of the phone and is capturing beautiful audio quality. If you haven't seen it, have a look on my story. If it's already gone, there'll be some reels coming up soon, and you'll hear it in action there. Exactly the same thing they used to capture audio on the GoPro, but now I'll be able to use it on a few different camera types. So do a little bit of research on that, and like I said, I might do a video on that sometime soon. I am working on. I know I keep saying this, but like, I am so busy, you guys. Stop booking me. All right, but I am desperate to get some training videos and stuff up on YouTube ASAP. And I'm going to be working on those day and night to start getting that content out and give you some visual stimulation instead of just audio. And again, if there's any videos that you think would be fantastic for me to cover other than just sort of day-to-day ops stuff, but any particular topics, please let me know. And I'm going to be getting stuck into all that ASAP. All right. So as the intro indicated, and as a few of you have contacted me in great despair, the Car 5 to Part 61 license transition timeline has now come to a close. What am I talking about? Well, once upon a time, if you were born before or did your flight training before 2014, the licensing system came under the CAR's Part 5. All right, we didn't really use the word part back then, but it was just the Car 5 license. And these all came, as they do now, in a paper booklet sort of format, originally on a little credit card, and then it came into another paper format. But anyway, that's history. And of course, all your licenses and privileges and everything else all came on that. But then 1st of September 2014 came along. We had the introduction of Part 61. And this was moving into the modernized ICAO format. So America and UK and everywhere else, all countries follow this format, New Zealand, etc. And there was a time to fill in a form, submit your logbook and get things recognized, this, that, the other. And obviously, if you're active, you did that fairly promptly. The problem now is if you were no longer in aviation for a period, be it family, be it work, be it health, whatever, some people now are going, hey, I want to get back into flying, and have realized that they kind of don't exist in the system, which is quite concerning. You can imagine you've spent a lot of time, money and energy getting trained and acquiring skills and things, and now effectively having nothing to show for it. So CASA, from what I can see, CASA put out an email. I think they did. I'm still trying to find it, and I think I've just deleted it. But there is a section on the website where on the 25th of August, they said that on the 1st of September, in 6 days' time, the 61-9TX transfer form will no longer be in effect. And there's a couple of problems with that, I guess. If you're not in the CASA system, or you've moved house, changed email address, how many times have we all done that? Then if any comms did go out, you probably didn't receive them. So unless you'd subscribed to the CASA emailing system or just happened to bother to look, you wouldn't have known. And I think that's part of the problem. And that's not necessarily CASA's fault. They can't be expected to track everybody when people move. That's our own responsibility, but it creates a problem. So we're now in this situation where people are licenseless. So what are we going to do? Well, after talking to CASA, I've said, hey, what is the go? How are we getting around this? And they're admitting that they are probably, it was all well and good to have the close-off date, but should have had a plan in place for, well, what now for those who are affected. So what I'm going to take you through now is purely hypothetical. This is what I foresee happening. What I can say is CASA are aware of the problem and they are now working to address it and have a path going forward. But it's not going to be fill in a form and get your license in the mail. All right. So what the process will be, I'm expecting, is that we're going to have to demonstrate some competency. Now, my good friend, 61385, is going to take care of that to a point, but there's a lot of reliance on that. There's a lot of air law that's obviously changed. So I would suggest it's probably going to form or follow the format of a foreign license conversion. All right. Now, like I said, this is purely speculation, and this is how I would say they're going to go about it. So that would involve at least resitting an air law exam, which, look, may be a pain, but it will help bring you up to speed with the new rules, the new regs. A lot of them aren't new. They've been around for a few years now, but the Part 91 and all that will be something you're not familiar with and didn't grow up with. So it shouldn't be that big a strain to do that. A flight review process, you should be doing some air law revision and processing assessment anyway. So I don't see that as a really big deal, and it will point you in the direction of where things are now located. Whether it forms the PAOS exam or the CAOS exam that's currently used, or it'll be a whole new thing, I don't know. It could possibly be something a flight school has to set. Again, we'll see. Naturally, there'll be refresher training. Now, I would hope that your existing license and all your hours in your logbook are still legal. They're still there. So you shouldn't have to completely redo your training and everything else. but there will be some competency-based training for general handling and the various privileges of the license that you are seeking and or the qualifications you're seeking. Now, there will be some cost associated with that, of course. If you're going to have to reacquire design features, instrument ratings, night ratings, instructor ratings, whatever, there's some time and energy put in that. You're going to have to do that in the current, or what was the current format anyway. You'd have to demonstrate briefs, knowledge, handling skills. So I don't think there's going to be a blowout as long as there is a recognition of the previous qualifications and experience held. All right. There may be a CASA case-by-case assessment. Again, not sure. All right. So all is not lost, but we are just going to have to sit put for a little bit and wait and see what happens and what CASA come up with going forward for affected pilots. All right. So if you are affected by this, just sit tight. Make sure you've got all your paperwork gathered, logbooks, licenses, etc. I wouldn't rush out and necessarily get a medical now unless that's going to be a process in itself. Because again, I don't know how this could take a couple of months. It could take a couple of weeks. I don't know where they're up to yet. They wouldn't advise me of that, and I don't blame them for that. All right. So what you can do though is start getting into the regulations, Part 61 for all the licenses and ratings, all the privileges and limitations, Part 91 for all the general rules. Have a look at the AIP. You'll see a lot of things have moved out of there, and hopefully that will get you on the right track. All right. If you have problems or if you are getting affected by it, like I said, don't message me just yet because we need to wait to see what CASA are going to do. There's no process right now. You've missed the deadline, rightly or wrongly. But once things get underway, we'll see what happens, and I'll certainly communicate that with everybody as soon as I hear about it. All right. For those of you that do have licenses and medicals, for some time now, we have had the CASA digital licenses and certificates. So if you're a pilot, if you are a ground crew person, LAMI, all that sort of stuff, all the digital licensing formats are now available. And these are for Android and iOS Apple devices. And you can get this on your phone. So you've got the Google Wallet or Apple Wallet. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's where your credit cards and other bits and pieces go, and tickets when you go to shows and things go into. And you can have your CASA license there, and this is effectively legal tender within the Australian territory. So you can have your medical and license there on your phone, and you don't need to carry your paper one around. You can keep that tucked away in your Nav bag or leave it in a safe place at home if you wish. If you're going overseas, still need the good old paper one. All right. So if you want to get the digital license and you haven't got it, I strongly recommend you do, because it just makes life very, very easy. And it's a really easy way to check that CASA have the current details and the correct expiry dates and all that sort of stuff. So what you need to do is have a My CASA account. I assume that the majority of you will. And obviously have your Apple wallet ready to go, your password and stuff. And jump online. So what you need to do is log into your My CASA account, but on your phone, not your computer or laptop or whatever. All right, because it needs to add it to the wallet on that device. So sign into your details, and then across the top, you'll have view your license details, and it'll say under licenses and authorizations, and it'll basically give you an option to download that as a digital license and save it to your digital wallet. So once you do that, you can add or set your notifications and things, so it'll tell you when stuff is happening. And for example, if you then do a new design feature or whatever, as soon as your instructor puts that through the My CASA system, within minutes, generally speaking, you can pull down to refresh and then swipe down or scroll down rather, and you'll see your new design feature there, or your IPC or whatever. Licenses obviously have to be processed by CASA still at the moment, so they'll take a little bit longer to show up, but they will show up on there before you get the piece of paper in the mailbox. So that's great because that lets you get up and running and using the privileges of your new qualifications a hell of a lot sooner. All right. You can also, as instructors, you can also scan and look at someone else's license. A little QR code comes up and then you can see all their details as well if you need to. So really great system. The medical's on there as well. The AROC for ground personnel gets stored on there also, English language, etc. So everything that you need to see is on there, and it is actually a really great system and a good way to keep track of things. However, as I have mentioned before, and I'll use this opportunity to raise it again, there is still a problem with CASA's algorithm. You will still get false notifications of things that are expiring, such as your class rating flight reviews. They still haven't got this figured out for whatever reason. So if you've got a multi-engine flight review, either through a flight review or a IPC or whatever, your single engine flight review, you'll probably get a notification saying it's expiring. So just be aware of that. Just remember, any flight test resets flight reviews, as long as it's in the applicable class, it'll multi-cover single and all that sort of stuff. And I've got a whole episode on flight reviews and proficiency checks if you're unfamiliar with that process. All right, so that's a little bit on licensing and regs. Hope that all helps. Any dramas, let me know. And like I said, any video ideas, any topics you wish me to cover, please let me know. I'll put a bit of a post up this week maybe and just ask for questions again. And if you have submitted something and I've forgotten to get back to it, please forgive me. Send it in again and I'll cover it off very, very soon. All right, guys, that's it for now. Stay safe, take care, enjoy your flying and your careers and your involvement in aviation, whatever manner it may be. And I will see you soon. Until then, take care, blue skies, and remember the golden rule: aviate, navigate, communicate. See ya.